sang songs, but also assaulted police vehicles and lit fires on main streets. The scale of the demonstrations caused the authorities to declare a state of emergency in the cities most affected by the protests. At least 200 people were arrested during the protests, and nearly 100 police officers were injured. The government, within the framework of the powers given to it, in order to ensure stability in the country, decided to reduce the price for liquefied gas in the Mengistar region to 50 tenge, that is $0.11 per liter. At the beginning of January, the price of liquid petroleum gas rose to $0.27. This was a result of lifting price caps on this commodity. The country's president Kassym-Jomart Tokayev appealed to the public to be responsible and show readiness for dialogue as he announced the lowering of the fuel price by more than 50% in an effort to calm down the atmosphere. The government also began developing personal bankruptcy law and considered freezing utility prices and subsidizing rent payment. Price caps on liquid petroleum gas were reintroduced and extended to gasoline, diesel, and other commodities deemed socially important.
Hi there, I'm Don Arleth, and you're watching Eastern Express. Still to come in the program, the EU's foreign policy chief is on a diplomatic visit to Ukraine, Russian-Serbian military cooperation, the Taliban attacking a border post in Central Asia, and protests over gas price hikes in Kazakhstan. But first up, the diplomatic developments regarding tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Monday met with the Bucharest 9 group, the United States top diplomat, alongside the foreign ministers of Hungary, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania, among others, discussed Russia's recent actions in the region, including destabilizing military buildup near the border with Ukraine, and reiterated the need for a collective NATO response. Blinken also spoke with the Turkish foreign minister on maintaining coordination in the face of Russian escalations, as well as prospects to strengthen bilateral and NATO ally collaboration to address common concerns. Meanwhile, a Kremlin source confirmed Dmitry Kozak, the Russian presidential administration deputy head, would meet with Normandy format German and French counterparts in Moscow. The German and French representatives are also scheduled to meet with Andriy Yermak, the Ukrainian chief of the president's office, with both talks pertaining to the escalations between Russia and Ukraine. Former NATO head Anders Fogh Rasmussen believes only Vladimir Putin knows whether he will attack Ukraine. However, in the case of such an attack, NATO would grant Kiev not only military help, but also launch sanctions to crush the Russian economy.
Putin plays a bad hand well, but his tactics will only work if we fold, and it's time for NATO to call Putin's bluff.
Rasmussen reiterated that Russia's so-called security demands, which include obtaining Moscow's consent to the deployment of alliance troops in NATO countries or guaranteeing no entry for Ukraine to NATO, are, quote, not serious offers from a man seeking peace. The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, on Tuesday began his three-day trip to Ukraine. According to an official statement of the European Commission, the goal of the visit is to underline the bloc's support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity at a time of heightened hybrid actions and a threatening presence of the Russian military.
The High Representative, accompanied by Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, will first visit the east of Ukraine and the demarcation line. He will then travel to Kiev, where he will meet with Ukrainian authorities.
In an interview with the Polish press agency, Borrell reassured that Ukraine is one of the EU's closest neighbors, as well as a vital partner, adding Ukraine's security is also Europe's security. The bloc's foreign policy chief reminded that a common foreign and security policy, as well as a common foreign and defense policy, were being developed in the case of a Russian attack on European security. Meanwhile, Ukrinform, the Ukrainian national news agency, reported on Monday 3 new ceasefire violations in the country's east by Russian-backed rebels. The attacks began with automatic and anti-tank grenade launchers. A Ukrainian soldier was wounded as a result of the shelling and was airlifted to a hospital. Ukrainian authorities reported in December that Russia rejected Kiev's proposal for a new truce in eastern Ukraine and a number of additional proposals, including the exchange of prisoners of war, the reopening of checkpoints, as well as the expansion of a common communications center. Since 2014, when Russia invaded Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, Kiev has been fighting pro-Moscow rebels in areas bordering Russia. More than 13,200 people have died as a result of the violence in eastern Ukraine. Despite worries in the Balkans that Russia's recent military buildup may lead to increasing tensions in the European area, Serbia's president lauded a new shipment of weaponry from the country on Monday. President Aleksandar Vučić took part in a military drill outside Belgrade that included the use of newly purchased Kornet anti-tank guided missiles.
I am glad that our soldiers are satisfied with the purchase of the Kornets from Russia. This is an important protective tool to prevent potential aggression against our country.
Serbia and Russia reached an agreement in December to acquire new Pantsir-S air defense systems. The Western Balkan country has received MiG-29 fighter jets, as well as helicopters, tanks, and armed personnel carriers from Russia in recent years. Just last year, Serbia took part in 2 coordinated military drills with Russia. A joint Russian-Serbian anti-terrorist training took place in May last year on Serbian territory. Serbia joined Belarus and Russia